exponents of real numbers. While dealing with the repeated products of same real numbers such as 5 times 5, 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, this is the product expressed in standard form. But if we want to write it in exponential form, we can write 5 power number of times this 5 has been multiplied with itself. This is 4 times this is the product of 5, so we can write 5 power 4. Remember, this is different than the sum of 5 4 times. If 5 was to add with itself 4 times, we would write 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, and then that we can write as 4 times 5. Here 4 will be called coefficient. So coefficient represents the number of times a given real number is added with itself. But here this 4, this represents the number of times the given real number is multiplied with itself. Remember this difference. Exponent. So, and this 5 itself is called the base. So, what is the base here? The base here is equal to 5, and the exponent is equal to 4. If we take another example in which we repeat the product of minus a with minus a with minus a with minus a. Now see which number is multiplying with itself, minus a. So negative sign is part and parcel of that multiplication. So this we can write as minus a power how many times? 4 times. So what is the base here? The base would be equal to the number which was multiplying or the participating in the repeated product, that is minus a, or and the exponent is equal to 4. Here I want you to remember these points. Remember, number 1, if you can realize the difference between 3b square and 3b whole square, can they be equal? No, certainly they cannot be equal, because 3b square, if this is exponential form, if we write it in the standard form, 3 cannot participate in the repeated product because 3 doesn't have the power 2. Only b has the power 2. So if we write this in standard form, we're going to write 3 times b. So what is repeating is the b, not the 3. But on the other hand, if you take a look on 3b whole square, see 3b is within bracket and the power 2 belongs to the entire number within bracket. So this would be equal to 3b times 3b. Clearly 1 and 2 are different, because the answer for number 2 is 9b square and answer for 1 is 3b square. This is a big thing to remember. This is a big difference. And number 2, if negative has an even power, answer is always positive. So if the base is negative, negative base, power even. Even mean any number which is divisible by 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So if negative base has an even power, the answer is always going to be positive. And if negative base does have odd power, means 1, 3, 5, 7, then the answer is always going to be negative. Now let's practice this on a couple of these questions here. If minus 3 is power 3, the answer is in standard form, minus 3 times minus 3 times minus 3. If you take a look, this minus 3 times this minus will become positive, and positive times negative will become negative, which is exactly according to the rule here in number 2. The negative base minus 3 does have odd power. That's why the answer is negative. And if we had minus 3 power even, which is 4, then it would be minus 3 times minus 3 times minus 3 times minus 3. And this way, this negative times negative would be positive, and this negative time would be positive, and positive times positive would be positive number. So instead of actual multiplication, depending upon the question, if you are just required to answer whether this quantity overall is positive or negative, you can see that negative base with even power always gives positive, and negative base with odd power gives always negative. Now we will implement these concepts on few questions here and write the base and exponent of following. So we are going to do a couple of questions here. Write the base and exponent of. So what is question number 1? That is minus 16a power 5. This is exponential form, and in this exponential form, what is the exponent? Exponent is clearly equal to 5, and you can see that power 5 only belongs to a here. It doesn't belong to minus 16. That's why we say that base is equal to a. If we were to write it in standard form, the standard form minus 16 will only come once, and only a will be repeated in the multiplication, a times a times a times a times a. So you should realize, due to exponent, a is multiplying with itself 5 times, equal to the exponent. So 5 doesn't belong to minus 16, like 5 is not an exponent of minus 16. If it was, then minus 16 would be inside the bracket with a, and the whole will be raised to power 5. So let's do another question. Here another question is minus 8y power 3. So number 2, minus 8y power 3. Now you can see that the exponent is 3 and the base is minus 8y because of these brackets. These brackets are enclosing the base. So if we were to write the base would be equal to minus 8y. And what would be exponent? that would be equal to 3. If we were to write it in standard form, we should be able to write it as minus 8y times minus 8y times minus 8y. Although it is not a requirement of the question, but what do you think that the overall answer will have negative sign or positive? Here base is negative, the answer will have negative sign because negative base power, negative base which is minus 8y power odd results in negative. So the overall answer will have a negative sign. So now let's do another question. Remember, explain the difference. Explain the difference between 5a, a power 5 and 5 power a. Here, so if we were to give it an explanation for this, now clearly 5a, in this 5 is the coefficient. So coefficient tells us how many times a is being added. If it was exponent, exponent would be written on the top right. So 5a means a plus a plus a plus a plus a, means that a is being added 5 times. But a power 5 means a time a time a time a time a. So this is the difference between exponent and the coefficient of the base. And obviously 5 power a means 5 times 5 times 5, well 5 a times. We don't know how many times is a times, but if a was defined like 3 or 4 or 5, we can certainly here. But here the base is 5, exponent is a, here a is the base, 5 is the exponent. So that is the difference. And if we continue onward, we should be able to answer a few more questions and then we will close this. Which of the following are positive and which of them are negative? So example, which of the following are positive and which are negative? So the first question that is being asked is minus 331 over 724 power 78. Now the only question that we need to ask ourselves that what is the base? The base is minus 331 over 724. And what is the exponent? Exponent is 78. Is the base negative? Yes, it does have a negative sign. So this is a negative base. And what is the exponent? Is it even or is it odd? It is even. Clearly the last number is 8, so it is even. And whenever the negative base does have an even exponent, the answer is always positive. So we have answered our question 1, and now we ask ourselves another question in which minus 3 over 7 power 2. Now this could be little tricky for some students. Remember, here the base is 3 by 7 and it doesn't have negative sign because the base is only within brackets. Within brackets there is no sign which is negative, so the base is 3 over 7, which is a positive base. So here we have a positive base. And what is the exponent? That is even. So this answer must be positive, but there is a negative outside. So this negative is outside, and if we multiply it with a positive number, the answer will be minus. So it overall the expression will evaluate itself to a negative number. And now the last question of this topic would be minus 6 times minus 13 power 12. Obviously this, what is the base here? The base here is minus 13, so negative base power even is equal to positive, but you can see there is a number outside which is minus 6 and is negative, so negative times positive will overall evaluate to a negative number. Remember that when two negative signs multiply or two positive signs multiply, the answer is always positive. When opposite signs multiply, the answer is always negative.